Rorschach, issue 10. It's a shame Matt's not here. He did send me a quick thought on the issue, which I'll get to. But so last issue, so this is Tom King, of course, with Jorge Fornes. Last issue did have the thing where, okay, the body that was buried at the house that he was looking at had a beeper, and the number that it went back to was part of the Redford campaign. And that was, oh shit, is Redford involved? And he isn't really. This issue kind of like makes it clear, even though it's still a smoking gun to the political party that's opposing, Turley's people are still going to use this and still going to, like, paint Redford, the president, as a villain behind all this, even though he doesn't seem like he actually had any personal touch on it. It's a very, there's a lot to explain here, so I'm going to do the whole thing. The old man, under the guise that he was writing a story about his pirate character, Pontius Pirate, coming to a present day scenario and didn't like all of the way things had changed and there was all these rules and laws, he would try to assassinate a presidential candidate. And so under the guise that it was research for a story, he wanted to talk to people who could give him insight and experience into the sort of situation that would like arise, like what's all the things that he would have to do to be able to pull it off, what would be the best place to target such a person, so on and so on. And he got a bunch of names that was recommended to him, and he goes around checking these people, and they all kind of like pop up one way or another, except one, the last person, Jonathan Oates, isn't at his place of residence, and it's very clear that he's the body that was found with the pager. And it turns out that he did some private security work for President Redford in his last two like campaigns, but he wasn't actually Secret Service. And there's a reason in here about like he didn't want to use taxpayer money, so he actually just paid himself for private security instead of using extra Secret Service or something like that. It was whatever. But this issue is told in the context of our investigator telling his liaison at the Turley campaign, the campaign manager, whoever this guy is. I've forgotten his exact role. But they're sitting having drinks, and he's explaining everything he's found, and that's the framing device of the issue. And he talks about finding, a gun, money. There's notably a bottle of beer in this safe that he finds in this guy's house, which stuck out because he didn't mention it. And it's like, why did the guy keep this on him? Like, what did he keep on? Why is it there? And he picks it up with a cloth, and it comes back at the ending, right? Because it's this kind of a slick little thing that goes on here. But it mentions here that this guy Oates, he was on the squad that helped capture Bin Laden, because different universe. Keep that in mind. And he got into security, did all these things, but then there's this other element, which is that he had a secretary who worked for him who committed suicide recently. And it's like, why did she commit suicide? And he keeps telling this story. There's a lot. I'm skimming some of these details a little bit because this is really well written and just how complicated the details are, but it all flows really well when you're reading it. Like, it all keeps just sort of unraveling as you're going, and kind of keeps going. And the idea was that she was aware of these conversations that Oates was having with Myerson, and giving him all these hints and tips. And she was like, this is fishy, this is not right. This guy Oates was a fan of the comic book of the pirate character, which is why he was so willing to help this guy. And basically went through, you need these badges, and if you act confident enough, they won't even search you because they're too busy dealing with all the crowds, and so on and so on. And you'd be best going up to this catwalk. And part of what made him feel like it was good fiction was because this catwalk at the center that is going to be the place of the assassination, like it was actually built for snipers for protection, but it was so high up and the angle was so bad that snipers never used it. They found other places in the building to use, so it's this perfect thing. But the idea being that this is why it's fiction, because no one could ever make this shot. It's unrealistic that anyone can make this shot, but the whole story's been building the idea that the kid is this shot, that she can make this shot because she's that good. But anyway, so she's uncomfortable. She thinks this is actually something serious, that he's helping someone who's actually going to try and do something. And when Myerson asks for VIP passes so you can like go and do some research, quote unquote, he drives them out himself to that farmhouse, and this is where the interaction happens where he dies, which is actually still a mystery. That's something that the investigator at the end says. He still doesn't know why they killed him. And it's a really good moment, actually, because you sort of like see some of it play out where Myerson and the kid hug, and it's this really good moment of embrace because, the kid does get shot in the arm by this guy. And we can speculate that maybe he sort of like realized when he was there that they were going to actually try something, and there was a bit of a confrontation, which makes it very clear, by the way, that this did not come from Redford himself. The reason why the Redford is even involved is because this guy, who's not directly associated with them but has worked with them, called in a favor to Redford's like campaign office to get badges, because even though he's the opposition, Redford's the president, so if his office asks for some passes for a rally for the competition, if they ask the Turley's people for that, they'll hand them over because it's the president effectively asking for some badges to have some people at the thing. Why wouldn't they hand them over? In fact, I actually really like the guy's reaction, because this guy who's like the campaign manager or whatever kind of like goes, "Oh shit, like I would have approved that." Like that have been literally went through my office when they asked. Why wouldn't we say yes? So that's kind of how it goes through the Redford office. That's where there's a connection. That's why he's got this number on his beeper and so on and so on. But the secretary at the thing called in the scare and said he accepted this call where someone said someone's going to try and kill Turley, and he kind of laughed it off, and he's like, "Oh my god!" Like I sort of like shrugged this off, and because she was the only surviving person out of the whole thing, she felt she would be blamed, and she didn't implicated herself, and that's why she killed herself. So all this is great, and also that full page panel where they hug and the flashback to when they kill this guy, the blood on the floor makes kind of a Rorschach looking symbol. Neat little touch. All really good. Art's fantastic throughout, as it has been. There's so much to explain here. The ending of this issue, though, and I did notice that they're sitting having this drink. The bottles of beer they have are very similar to the one that was in the safe, and it was never mentioned that the investigator never mentioned that. He mentioned that there was money in the safe. He mentioned there was a gun in the safe. He never mentioned the bottle of beer. And this guy says, "You know what? You've done above and beyond. You should see Turley personally and explain all this to him. You've connected this to Redford. This is like such a smoking gun. Here, I'll pay for the drinks." And he's like, "Hey, I'll call you soon. Thank you." And the final page is a silent page, 9-panel grid, as King loves. The investigator pulls out a napkin. He picks up the other guy's bottle. He looks at it. And the final panel is just a panel emphasizing this guy's fingerprint on the bottle. And it just reveals that he is looking for something, that he suspects that this guy is involved, that this is something that's actually going through their own office, and that he's looking for this evidence here. He's still investigating, as much as this was framed as him reporting back to the guy who hired him. At least that's what I can take from this ending. It might obviously swerve a bit more than that. It may be a bit more intricate than that, a bit more complicated. But this, because it was so heavy on the explanations, there was so much dialogue, there was so much explaining all these details of this convoluted case that built up to the ending. This final page being completely silent and being this reveal that he's still looking and he's still suspecting something else, and there's more elements to this, just was the perfect kind of like, oh shit moment at the end. Get into these final 2 issues. Really well done. Given how many details there are to all of this case and this guy's this Oates involvement, and how he got these passes, how he gave him all these advice and experience, it flows so well, all these things considered. The art's phenomenal, as it has been. The way it uses color is so good. Like the bathroom where the girl commits suicide, the secretary, feels different from everything else. There's a sequence of panels where when he's explaining what you would do to kill, fictionally, someone in this place. There's a great panel where it's just black and white with the red splatter. The guy's in silhouette as he gets hit, and it's just the glasses go flying and there's red splatter. Really good stuff. it has this feeling to it the entire time. And when you go back and look through the panels before, you can see it really emphasizing the campaign manager pouring his drink, having his hand on the glass. It focuses on these details. And it does this, not right after he's found the ball. It's a few pages later. There's other stuff in between. More stuff that he's telling the story of. Really solid storytelling. It's planting these seeds throughout that makes that ending just feel so much kind of worth it. And that's the thing, that this guy Oates kept so many records. It mentions this, that he kept so many records physically that it's weird there's nothing about this attempted thing with Turley. There's no plans to help people kill someone because it wasn't a job. It was just him helping Myerson as a researcher, effectively. But why did they kill him? Excellent questions. This was a riveting issue to read because it just kept adding more of these details. It felt like it was all kind of coming together, and then ultimately you have this ending that just quietly makes sure. It's almost like it over explains everything exposition wise throughout the issue, and it is interesting everything it's saying, just so that it can silently make one final point at the end that just feels like, no, he was playing us like he was playing this character. He was just, this was all about just getting him to sit there and trust them and leave some evidence. And really, really good stuff. Loving this book still. It's going into its end game. I'll read what Matt said about it before I give my rating here. Where are we? Rorschach is starting to come together. This is Matt for the record. Art was pretty damn great with all the small particulars of the storytelling. Yep, that's pretty much what I was getting at there. It feels like something is off, and I'm not sure what to make of the end. I still feel like Turley's people are involved, and it's not as clear cut as it seems. Yeah, it definitely feels like there's stuff going on here. This issue did sort of drift away from this idea of the teasing that this main character might become a new Rorschach of some kind. To an extent, but I don't know if it's just because I'm barking down the wrong tree, or if it's because it's just it's not the focus of this issue. This is about something else. This is a 9. This is just a straight up 9. It's a goddamn great issue, and just feel like this is going to be an epic 12 issue read when you have that hardcover and you can just read all 12 issues of it in one big run. There's so many details throughout, though. It may actually be quite daunting. Like, I feel like talking about these issues as they come out have really benefited this in the same way that talking about a good TV show really benefits all the build of all the details. Because it is so detail rich. King put a lot of thought into this. And the art's got the thought as well, because it's just the way it focuses on things, the way it's pacing things out. Anyway, 9 out of 10. There you go.